Hello, welcome to ID Talks. My name is Anastasia Lavrina, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Samad Seyidov, who is a member of Azerbaijani Parliament, chairman of the Committee on International Relations and Inter-Parliamentary Relations, head of Azerbaijan's delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Mr. Seyidov, hello and welcome to our program.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me today. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. So this is the first edition we have in 2024, and let's start with the common question. What are your expectations, geopolitical expectations from this year when it comes to the South Caucasus region?
That's easy and very difficult question, actually, because we're always living together with the expectations. We are living with dreams. We are living with our intentions. But if we're going to do something, we should take into account what we have done in the past. And from this point of view, I think 2023 was remarkable and historic year for Azerbaijan, because exactly in 2023, we completely restore our territorial integrity, our sovereignty, and we became so closer to the peaceful agreement which we are dreaming for, which we expected, because enough. We have seen a lot of pain, a lot of tragedies, a lot of war in our region, and 2024 should give us more positive emotions, I hope, and we will be able to sign this peaceful agreement with Armenia. Of course, this is just beginning, and this peaceful agreement with Armenia just first step, because we should do a lot in order to find acceptable for both nations, mutually understandable positions, confidence-building measures we should create and recreate, delimitation, demarcation. At the same time, we have our also great agenda with COP29, which will be in 24, at the end of the 24 in November. At the same time, we have been waiting a lot from the middle corridor. But nobody knows what will be exactly, not with our internal agenda, but with the external situation, because we can see a lot of negative signs, a lot of dangerous developments, a lot of threats in the Middle East, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, in Europe. And in his New Year address, my president told the nation that we know what is going on in the West. We know what does it mean double standards. We know how difficult sometimes to manage with this double standard. That's why, of course, our expectations are positive. Of course, we are dreaming about peace, and we have done a lot for the peace, but we should do much more than we have done in the past.
Well, Mr. Seyidov, you rightly mentioned Azerbaijan and Armenia are so close to sign the peace deal, but still, we do not have this paper yet. And I guess you will agree with me that the end of the last year was quite successful, and two sides were optimistic about the future discussion process, negotiation process. But do you think that Armenia is ready to continue the negotiations with Azerbaijan without mediators?
Difficult question again, but a very interesting question, because we, as you know, we prefer face-to-face negotiations. We prefer to see each other and absolutely sincere, without any interference in the internal affair of the South Caucasus region, to find a final solution of these problems. But if Azerbaijan is an independent state, if we are able to do that, if we are able to present our position in this direction, Armenia is not so. Because a lot of foreign players try to play a game not only with Armenia, but with South Caucasian countries. And from this point of view, the ball on the side of Armenia. If Armenia is able to present their own position, independent position, sovereign position, I think that would be a great contribution to the peace negotiation, and peace could be reachable. But if Armenia also, again will try to find some support from the foreigners, that could create more obstacles than we have. But unfortunately, we can see exactly opposite tendencies. We can see that some European countries and generally West try to interfere, try to show that without West, that would be impossible to find the final solution of the problem. This is a real problem. And I think that this year we should do our best in order to show that only with the countries from the region and only together with Armenia, because we had this experience last year, direct negotiations with Armenia gave us possibility to release a lot of prisoners from Azerbaijan and from Armenia and exchange these prisoners. And that's a vivid example that Armenia and Azerbaijan, without any other intervention, could go in right direction and could achieve the peaceful agreement between themselves. But again, as I said, position of France is very well aware. Unfortunately, we can see some attempts to interfere, very unproductive, very unfair, if I may say like that, attempts to interfere from United States of America. And we hope that this year we will be able to manage the situation.
Well, you said about France, you said about United States of America, and I have to ask you the next question. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken put Azerbaijan on religious freedom watch list. What or who is behind this? Do you have any idea? And it will be nice to know your opinion about this case.
That's a ridiculous decision, actually. You know what we can see? We can see that unfortunately these sacred values as human rights, democracy, rule of law, very frequently it can used by some forces, some circles, even some countries as a tool to show who is a master in the region. And exactly the same situation we can see from the United States State Department when they try to use religion as a tool in order to show who is a real master in the world. But why I've said just a couple of minutes ago that this is ridiculous, because all over the world, very well known about the attitude which Azerbaijan has towards religion. This is a unique country where we can see Muslims, Jewish people, Orthodox, Christians, Catholics, all kind of confessions together. And that's a vivid example in which way our Western partners should go. But when we can see criticism and very double standards inside this approach, that created a lot of questions. Why? I think the first answer, that this is a way or tool to interfere into the internal affairs of Azerbaijan. The second, we can see, and we have proofs of that this is another attempt to come to the region and to show that without this Western approach, that would be very difficult to find solution of some critical problems which region has. But unfortunately, you have mentioned about the statement which just recently Mr. Blinken made. And this statement he made exactly on the eve of his visit to Turkey, which is another vivid example that left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. How can it possible to go to Turkey, to strategic partner of Azerbaijan, and to make a statement against Azerbaijan in the situation when you are looking for some positive signals from Turkey? That's very unprofessional. Or it's very conscious. But if we have mentioned conscience, you have to have conscientious in order to understand that with Azerbaijan, where all kind of religion representatives living together, these kind of statements doesn't work. And this created more tensions, more negative attitudes towards West than it was before. And that's why if you're, again, I'm returning back to the address of my president to the nation. We know what does it mean double standard, he said. But despite of this approach, we will do what is right for our nation. And we know what is right for our nation. To have direct negotiations with Armenians, to find the final solution of the problems, to sign a peaceful agreement with Armenia, to open all communication between two nations and two states in the region, and to do everything in frame of national interest of Azerbaijan. You can read national interest of all nations which we have here in this region. And this is the answer to these questions. We have seen a lot of these kind of statements. Unfortunately, 30 years we were the subject of this unfair approach. That's why my answer to this statement that before doing these kind of steps, so great powers as United States of America should take into account the national interest of the countries who just created new reality in the region, which is also very important for United States itself.
And one more question. You rightly mentioned about the visit of Antony Blinken to Turkey, his meetings with the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In the bilateral meeting, the sides talks also about the situation in Gaza, the European security, and many other issues. So, your opinion, what role does Washington assign to Turkey in the development of the regional agenda in the region of the South Caucasus?
Of course, United States of America is one of the leading countries in the world. But just recently I have read one article where I saw new and powerful countries in the region. And among these powerful and influential countries, there was a Turkey, and there is a Turkey. And if you are thinking to do something, if you are going to be in the region, you should take into account the position of Turkey. Turkey today is a new center, a new geopolitical center which created new attitudes toward the region. And it's really very important that today, when we are talking about Turkey, we should take into account the position of Azerbaijan. And when we're talking about Azerbaijan, we should take into account the position of Turkey. The communications and agreements and relations between Turkey and Azerbaijan gave us possibility not only to present our position, but to defend our position, which is absolutely different than it was before. Because before we could present our position, but we were not able to defend our position. But now situation is completely different. Now Azerbaijan and Turkey and this geography, these geopolitics, these centers is able to present, to protect, and to defend the position, which we are thinking in favor of our nation. And that's why United States of America, not only United States of America, the West, and not only the West, all political players geopolitical players in the region should take into account new reality of the Turkic world, and within this Turkic world, the place of Turkey and Azerbaijan is essential and very important.
Well, Mr. Seyidov, thank you. Thank you so much for joining Kazi Talks today.
Thank you and Happy New Year.